He can up and under people, and then he can bull people. I mean, he's powerful enough and long enough to where he can get into people without them getting into him and push him and push the pocket. So he can he's creating pressure where he may not get the sack, but he's still creating pressure. And then again in the run game, just the addition of the weight and the strength and his knowledge and in his attitude of buying into the importance of being a run stopper because he wants to play every down is what's helped him.
Stephon and Spencer are at the top of the tackle figures, as you probably hope they would. Are they tackling as well and playing as well as you wanted them to?
Yeah, I mean, we're 3-0, and they're, big reason for it. They're playing really good. Spencer's missed a couple tackles, but I mean, heck, you turn on the NFL and the best of the best, miss a tackle here and there. But I think that both those guys are playing at a very high level for us. Stephon was the ACC linebacker of the week. Shuey was the Ronnie Lott whatever of the week. That people recognize their play. They play hard. Stephon has been. Spencer's kind of just picked up where he left off, but Stephon has really taken another step forward and is having a great year for us right now, and very confident. So very pleased with their play. And Shuey in particular made a tackle the other night, one-on-one, coming off the edge. He really should. He read it out, but probably shouldn't have stepped up inside. But if he doesn't make that tackle, there's some grass on one particular play. But he's just a heck of a football player, and both of them playing well.
You mentioned Wake has thrown a lot of different things offensively at people. Are they kind of in a transition, trying to figure themselves out? What's your take on their?
Well, up at BC they ran a lot of option, a bunch of option, and then they played La Monroe, not as much option, and then they played Army, and not as much as BC, but a little bit more option. They're running their quarterback some. They run a lot of trap. That's a tough play to handle. That's one of their ways of controlling, some guys up front. And then, they're in and out of different formations, personnel groupings. We've seen a little bit of everything, 10, 11, 21, 20. I mean, we've seen a lot of different personnel groups. And, so it's not like we've seen one film and we just can say, hey, this is exactly who they are. They've presented a lot of different challenges, and I just think that what they're doing is they're trying to give themselves the best chance to win each week. They're young up front. They got 3 freshmen in the offensive line, but got good experience at quarterback. Got a great player at wideout, and got good experience at running back.
If and when McKenzie's healthy enough to make a decision on whether he plays or redshirts, how much are the 4 corners on the field and the way they're playing at that point going to dictate the decision?
Well, I mean, the biggest thing is our guys are playing really good, playing especially at corner. I'm very pleased with what they're doing there. But the big thing is I haven't had a chance to evaluate him, and I mean I can't even evaluate him until he can go out there and compete. We've seen just spots here or there, but he really hasn't been healthy. But I'm excited about what the procedure that they're doing on Thursday, because we really feel like that. Okay, this is what's holding him up from really progressing like we need him to, and so hopefully here in a couple weeks, we'll be able to address that a little bit further. And then also, he's in a situation, it's not like we have to have him to play. And we by that time he's missed 5 or 6 games, and I have a lot of respect for these guys and what's best for them too, and their career. So, he'll have a lot of input into that. But the other thing is if he's perfectly healthy, can he pick it up? Can he go and compete like he would need to compete? I have no idea, because we haven't had a chance to, or Mike, we haven't had a chance to evaluate that yet fairly. So, there's a lot of question marks there. But again, right now that door's still open. We'll just wait and see. We all know he's a great player and going to be a great player, but he hasn't practiced in a while, hasn't played football in a while, and these guys have been working. And can he get to the level where he can compete? He hasn't had the reps, so mentally, is he where he needs to be? Those are all questions that would have to be answered pretty quickly But right now, it's not even worth the discussion because we got to even see if it's even a factor. Let's see how he responds. We think it's going to be good. How does he respond in a couple weeks? And, where he can really, truly go cut it loose. And then we can, evaluate him fairly.
Has he been in position meetings?
Oh, yeah. He's been in meetings and practice every day and all that kind of stuff. But he's been doing a lot of rehab, so he's, we're over there running, team, and he's doing a lot of rehab during practice as well. So and then he'll go over and get with them.
Shaq Lawson's a guy that really made some plays the other night. What have you seen from him as far as his progression?
Just what we hoped, what we saw this fall camp. I mean, we came out of camp. To be honest with you, going into the Georgia game, Marion came to me and said, "Hey, I got 3 starters," and he was struggling between Vic and Corey and Shaq. And I was like, well, if it's a tie goes to the veteran, end of discussion. I wanted to see it. I wanted to see him transfer it from the practice field to the game field. It was really a tie between him and Vic, to be honest with you, coming out of practice. And I told Vic that too. You better go perform, because this big boy's on your heels right here. I mean, they're all going to play, but, running out there first is always a big deal to those guys. It's been fun because he's done just that. He's transferred what we've seen in practice to the game field. This guy is a special talent. In my opinion, he might be the best guy we've signed as a freshman since I've been here.
At any position?
As a D lineman. As far as being a true freshman, where he is physically, mentally, all that stuff. But you also got to remember he was able to go through spring ball. So his upside is tremendous. And another thing about Shaq, he loves to play. He loves to practice. He's always got a smile on his face. Brings a lot of energy and emotion to a position that you better have those things to be great at. And I'm just really pleased with where he is. Good to see him he made a tackle on a speed sweep through the A gap. I mean, that is not an easy play for a big old defensive lineman. So he's off to a great start in his freshman campaign, and we need him to continue that.
Is that best since you've been at Clemson period, or is the head coach at Clemson?
Best since I've been at Clemson, in my opinion, as a freshman. He's got a long way to go, but just where he is right now, his mentally, physically, effort, understanding the whole big picture. I haven't been around freshmen like him. He's been around, obviously, other great players that are freshmen. Even Daquan, obviously, but Daquan, the transition wasn't quite as easy. And Daquan had a great freshman year, but the transition wasn't quite as easy for him. But Shaq just, big time gets it and sees the big picture. And again, great practice habits for a young player. And sometimes the freshmen coming in, the transition to the practice and all that type of stuff and the routine is a challenge, but he has just sucked it up and absorbed everything very well. And again, has really kind of become one of those guys immediately that everybody on the team respects because he practices hard, plays with passion, works his butt off down there in the weight room, does what he's supposed to do at Vickery Hall. Has a smile on his face all the time, and just has a real energy to him. So really proud of him. He's an outstanding young player.
Did prep school probably play a big role in that?
Certainly. I think he grew up, and sometimes I think all of us, in order to really appreciate what you have, sometimes you got to lose it, or be in danger of losing it. That's one of the cruel ironies of life is. To really appreciate something, sometimes you got to be in danger of losing it, or you actually have to have it taken away. And it was very disappointing for him. Although he ended up being qualified, but it was a very challenging process for him. He lost his father, and then he goes through this whole thing and he did everything everybody's asked him to do, and then all the the red tape that you go through, and later on, but he had to go because school had already started, and we're like, all right, what do? You can't just sit here at home. Well, then he later on is cleared, but it's too late, so he's at the prep school, and that's not an easy deal. You're marching at 6 a.m. You know, he thinks he's coming to Clemson. Next thing he knows, he's wearing a uniform and living in Virginia and marching, and it's not what he had planned on. But I think he'd be the first to tell you the maturity process that he went through, his appreciation for his opportunity that he has. I think he grew in all those areas, and I think that's helped him tremendously. So from the time he's gotten here, I mean, this guy has had a great appreciation for this opportunity, and you can just see he's going to take advantage of it. And had zero issues with him. Zero.